How did he not something else?
Good morning.
Morning.
Finally, we didn't have another snow day. We can meet. It's been a tough month. First order of business. Somebody left an iPhone out there at the front table. I'm sure no one in the room has an iPhone. I happen to leave my phone at home today, so I'll keep this one. But if anybody needs a phone, boss's phone. Darlene has our invocation.
Please bow your heads. Thank you, Lord, for all the blessings you have bestowed upon us. Let us not take any one of these blessings for granted. Help us to see ways in which we can be better Rotarians, business leaders, parents, spouses, friends, and members of society. Help us to acknowledge our talents and to use them to serve and honor you and your purpose. Thank you, Lord, for your grace and forgiveness, and help us to share that same grace and forgiveness to others. In your name we pray all these things. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we test, and all the things we think, say, and do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
So coming up with my Rotary moment, there was a lot of good things to choose from, and I had to look back to see how long I've been in Rotary, and I was kind of surprised that it had been 10 years, so that was kind of surprising how fast time goes by. But I think the highlight of my Rotary years, being a little selfish, I guess, was honestly the year that I served as fundraising chair, and seeing how this club comes together and helps you out in getting things done. But you know, the peak of that moment was when I got to go on stage and introduce the AVETs in front of that sold-out crowd, and 7,000 people just screaming their lungs off. It was just an absolute...
All for you.
All for you.
That was my Rotary moment.
We've got a full agenda today. Tony's got a great program, some young people. We've got a new member induction. We've got happy dollars. We've got some announcements. But first of all, Kevin Barr, birthdays and anniversaries.
We don't have any birthdays or anniversaries, but we do have a Rotary anniversary. On the 7th, it's Randy Elliott, for 6 years as a Rotarian.
All right. Ben Bracken, you got our Sergeant at Arms?
I do.
Did Buster give you
We
some
got a
marching
full
orders?
Yeah, he gave me the marching orders. We've got a full list today. First, from Summit, if you'll stand, we have visitors Zach Engel and Deborah Friedman. And from Crescent, we have Gunnar
Roman.
Froman. Okay, and we have several guests. If Ralph Jones has a guest.
Yeah, excuse me. Steve Holland, he was here last week and he's entertaining joining Rotary, and what a great Rotarian that'll show up on a makeup day like last week, so we're hoping he'll consider it.
And Buster Lewis also has a visitor today.
I have my friend Jason Hull here. I've actually known Jason since he was in the 6th grade, and he was in my small group at church, and both of us live. And Jason is a recent graduate of Chapel Hill, Go Hills, and is now started with Brown Investment. Got his first job, so doesn't look like it, but they've been straight together. That's right.
And Chip Person also has a guest today.
John Roberts has been a few times, and thank y'all for continuing entertaining.
Quinn. Dan, you want to make a pitch for door prizes?
Yeah, we need some door prizes for district conference. $50-ish. If it's something with the company logo on it, that's great. But the district governor is pressing me hard, so anything you can help me with, I appreciate it.
Dan, you should let your big sister pick on you.
Yeah, you tell her she's my big sister. I'm hard to say she is my youngest sister.
You've got some information on the table?
I do. This is a club of service, and there's a great opportunity coming up on the afternoon of February 22nd, a Meals of Hope event. That's an event where Rotarians and others get together and package up macaroni meals that are distributed to people who do not have access to good food. It's going to be, there are sheets on the table, there are sign-up sheets. It's going to be Saturday afternoon, February 22nd at the Sea Church, 687. It's a great opportunity. Last time we did it, we packaged up 35,000 meals in about 3 hours. Real good fun time.
I'll follow up with an email as well with the same information, so you can either sign up on the table or there'll be a way in the email to respond. Thank you, Jim. Any other announcements? Unexpected.
Jim Kennedy, you know, we offer the scholarships for GTCC, so I just thought I'd give you guys an update. Jim Kennedy and I are going to interview our final 2 candidates this afternoon, and hopefully we're going to be making a decision as to who we're going to offer scholarships to, and we'll make that announcement next week for you guys.
Thank you. Erica. Oh, yes. Come.
Good morning, everybody. I just want to talk a little bit about Shadow Day. At first, when Bobby asked me to do this, I thought it was an honor, and now I'm not sure.
Mike Conrad taught me everything I
just want to thank everybody who's already volunteered. I appreciate that. And I'm also grateful for the candid feedback that I've received. It didn't fall on deaf ears. I actually took it over to Doug, who's coordinating everything. And I asked for forgiveness because I told him we were going to do it a little bit different here at Gate City. Somehow he wasn't surprised that Gate City would do it differently. But we're going to take those who volunteered, their professions and their time for that day. We're going over to the school and we're looking for kids to match you. So instead of the kids choosing a match, you guys are choosing your match, basically. So wish me luck. I don't know how it'll turn out. This is the first time it's ever been tried, but we're going to give it a shot. I feel like if we have the volunteers in place, we should be able to find a kid that wants to hang out with you, so except for probably Buster. We'll see.
They get to drive Portland.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Erica. I think that'll work out great. No other announcements. Buster.
Happy Dollar.
Happy Dollar.
All right. I got one.
Chip.
Last Saturday, a group of 4 guys from High Point and 1 guy from Greensboro held an event to honor veterans who were wounded. And it turns out in pretty much any war, we had some pretty old veterans there. We honored 75 veterans. Tom Nelson's with me, quite a few other people. Darlene Leonard was a big donor. Several other people. Rachel was there. And I won't go through all the donors here and everything. But we raised about $35,000 and honored 75 veterans. We had close to 100 volunteers. We shot 15,000 shotgun shells at 10,000 clay pigeons, at 300 pheasants, we had 400 sausage biscuits, and somewhere in the neighborhood of about 180 pounds of barbecue and chicken that was cooked on site and served. Everybody had a blast, and the only mishap of the entire day is we had given Sean a cooler with 2 pheasants in them, and in our generosity, we gave it to somebody else before Sean could pick it up. So I told him I'd buy him breakfast. So I want to thank everybody for your help, the volunteers in particular. It was an early morning. We had to be there at 7 and it's an hour away. So it was a big day. It started out cold and it finished fantastic. And it was a great thing. Thank you all for your help. Well done. I didn't even try to. The only gun I picked up was to hand a loaner gun to Sean and to Porter Halliburton. And those are the only two guns I touched all night. Who's that over there? That's Zen? Okay. Any shot left.
Okay, so last week I told you about my professor, right? In his defense, and I don't know where that is coming from, he told me he didn't mark my work and that he's TAD. Well, I don't think he's the kind to actually hand off that kind of work to his TA. My other delights about that, I got home and I told my husband, oh yay, you know, I told my club about this, and my husband was like, are you totally crazy and out of your mind? I'm like, what are you talking about? You just told a room full of people that they told you, don't take pictures, and you take pictures. Has it occurred to you that maybe when you finish school, you're going to look for a job? I'm like, so? Well, if your employer comes across that, they are going to be wondering when you are going to take a camera, when they are in a meeting telling you, we don't want this to get out, they are going to be wondering when you're going to take your cell phone and start tapping them or flashing that thing around. And I'm like, oh, well, I didn't think about it that way. But if they are any good at all, they'll think that I'm actually a great person and I like to be honest, right?
That's available on playback. You're interested.
Happy 20.
Oh, happy 20. Woo.
I've got the Westminster Dog Show starts Monday and Tuesday. I head up there on Saturday. But I got called up there for a last-minute meeting last Thursday. So anyway, my father's from New York City. He grew up at 1st Avenue, 65th Street. He's been up there many times, but it's been many years since he went. He's 90 years old. So I had this last-minute business meeting, so he went with me. So after my meeting, he went to my meeting with me. He met all the big wheels at Westminster and all that. And then we went to his old neighborhood, went to the apartment building he grew up in, went to his church. And it was really neat. It was sort of a pilgrimage, so it was a great day. And my dad's doing great. It's wonderful that I could do that and he could enjoy it.
Any more hole-in-ones?
No more hole-in-ones, but he's had 9 in his lifetime.
That's incredible. Anybody else? Well, I must admit, Grandpappy Lewis slept in today. Is anybody's Grandpappy Christensen got anything interesting?
My grandpappy asked me one time why mermaids wear seashells, and apparently it's because the bee shells are too small.
I am so glad I didn't say that.
By the way, if anything I say offends anybody, what was that disclaimer about?
Yours gets it.
All right. That's going to be hard to follow. Dennis, turn it over to you. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
We have an exciting moment again today. We're going to induct a new member as Steve Brandon and Glenn Lewis. Please come forward. Steve, will you say a few words about Glenn? Be nice.
Glenn's not a mermaid. No. No, actually, Glenn and I have gotten to know each other over the past several years. We actually worked together when we were slaving over at Crown. But anyways, now Glenn and I actually during that time began to build a great friendship, and you know, in the automotive industry, it's very sometimes very hard to find someone of character in the industry. This is just my personal insight. I'm just saying. But no, Glenn was someone that. As I began to get to know him, I could tell he actually was someone that cared about his clients, that actually was a person of integrity, high moral ethics, and so we began to build that friendship. And after I left, our friendship continued, and then he was able to go back into his previous career again, which was very exciting for him. And he approached me this last year, and he knew I was a Rotarian here and asked about our club. And Glenn had been a previous Rotarian before. In fact, it was very very fun to watch this morning. He actually remembers the four-way test, so I was very impressed. At least his mouth was moving in the right direction. But no, Glenn's going to be a great addition to the club. He was very active in his club over in Washington, D.C., or not Washington, D.C., in Maryland. And so he's going to be a great participant in our activities and our fundraisers and every other service project we do. He's going to carry the load from here on out. You can all take it. No, Glenn's a great guy. You're going to really enjoy getting to know him, and I'm really excited to have him part of our club.
So you do things because you're supposed to say we're supposed to do them, so I'm going to read this, even though he's a past Rotarian. It's my pleasure this morning to welcome Glenn Eulis as the latest member of Gate City. As a sponsoring member, we were glad that he came through our program, and I had a chance to spend some time with Glenn, so I'm really excited he's on board here. On behalf of the Board of Directors, our members, we sincerely welcome you here. Our welcome is not only a participation of good fellowship we'll share with you here on Thursday mornings and during social outings. We welcome you for your strong arms, your sturdy back, I know you have it, which will help us carry out many service projects which in a small yet significant way make our community, our country, and our world a better place to live. For all here, Rotarian and non-Rotarian alike, let's be reminded of these important facts. Rotary is not a political organization, but all Rotarians are virtually concerned or vitally concerned with everything pertaining to good citizenship and the election of good men and women into public office. Rotary is not a charitable organization, yet its activities exemplify the charity and the sacrifices that one should expect from people who believe that they have a responsibility to help others. Rotary is not a religious organization, but is built on those eternal principles that have served us as the moral compass for people throughout the ages, as well as the foundation of our great country. Rotary is an organization of business and professional people pledged to upholding the highest professional standards. Rotarians believe that worldwide fellowship and international peace can be achieved when business people unite under the banner of service. I'd like to request everyone to please stand for the following charge. You, Glenn, have been chosen for membership of the Gate City Rotary. Your sponsor and fellow members believe you to be a leader in your special line of work and that you embody the qualities of head and heart that fit you to interpret and impart the message of Rotary. You are the representative of your vocation in this club. At the same time, you now become an ambassador of Rotary. We rely on you to carry the principles and ideals of service to those with whom you work. Additionally, we expect you to inspire us, your fellow members, to become better Rotarians. I now ask Steve to present you with your distinguished label pin, and remember, don't stick them, Steve. It is our hope you will wear it proudly for others to see. Also including your official certificate of Rotary membership and declaration of the four-way test to help you be reminded of what it means to be a fellow Rotarian. Steve, if you'll put this on. And you are now a red badge Rotarian. And in that pamphlet is a route to your blue badge Rotarian. Look at it and we can discuss it. But ladies and gentlemen, everyone meet Glenn Eulis.
Okay. Tony, I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
As you may have read yesterday in Emily's email, this month is World Awareness Month at Rotary. And Youth Exchange is a very important part of that. And I'm going to talk today about our Rotary Youth Exchange program. This program and the whole subject is very close to my heart, and I have to explain a little bit about that. I'm a bit disappointed because normally guest speakers get this really extensive impressive bios read out. My case, nothing. So if you understand my background, if I explain my background a bit more, then maybe also understand why this program is so close to my heart. So let's do a little bit of my bio. I won't go to the whole thing, but a little bit. First, let's start at the beginning. When I was a little kid, I went to school. Now, today I live in Summerfield, but as most people know, other people can hear, I did not go to Summerfield Elementary. I grew up in another country. I grew up in the Netherlands. And since Rotary Exchange is very much about understanding differences between countries, I'll give you one little difference about the school system. In the Netherlands, we did not have show and tell, not at all. But then when I was 8, I moved to another town, and that town was very close to an air base. And that air base had a US Air Force squadron there. So in our neighborhood were some families, American families with little kids, so I made friends with some of the little kids there. And then I learned about show and tell, because they told me. And they had their own school at the base, and they could take their rabbits, and you could take their cat. And my biggest dream was to do my own show and tell, but I could never do it. We had a very big German Shepherd at home. So my dream was I'd take this big dog, the name was Royal, and take it back. Never happened. But today my dream is coming true because I can do a show and tell. So I can tell about this Rotary Exchange program, but it has a big show here. You can see a whole entourage of guests who are part of the program. So I want to introduce them all. First, we have like a real exchange student, Merit. Later in the TEL program, we do that later, Merit, you can talk about. Not yet. Then we have also another, well, I would say a future exchange student, an outbound student. Grace, daughter of our own Darren. Yeah. So Darren we all know. Then we have an I don't know how they call it, a future outbound mother. And we have host parents where Merit is staying now, is Julie and Ken Carter. So after I'm done with the boring part of giving a bit about the mechanics, how the program works, how Rotary Youth Exchange works, I will let these students talk. I think, I don't know, the mom will talk a bit too, maybe we'll find out. So getting back to my bio, why this program is so important to me, I would say another key point is that as a kid, a young kid, I was always very intrigued by the world. At last I would look at maps, I would listen to shortwave radio. Also my family background had some. I had uncles and aunts in Canada. I had 2 half-brothers who left for Australia. I had another old half-brother who worked for Royal Dutch Shell and went all over the world. And I couldn't wait to do the same thing. And that brings me to my very first Rotary moment. My first Rotary moment was, in fact, when I was 16, a youth exchange. Not as impressive as these kids who go for a whole year because I went on a short-term program. And I didn't go too far from home. I lived in the Netherlands and I went to England. And I spent 6 weeks with a family there. It was a wonderful experience and the greatest thing you can do because that was my first adventure to what I would say is learning about the world. Next step, I would say, in my bio, and it's the last about my bio, is ever after that Rotary program, and I don't know if the program triggered it or I was like inclined to do that anyhow, this whole journey that got me now to Greensboro and Summerfield, everything I did after that was international. I never worked anywhere, but I didn't work internationally. I think I did some count. I worked with local people and traveled with local people in more than 40 countries. I lived on 3 continents and 3 countries. Or 4 countries if you consider New Jersey a separate country. So in my feeling, and that's why this program is so close to me, is understanding the world and knowing how things are different everywhere, but how things are also very similar everywhere, and how people are the same, is like a real big treasure to have. I think to have that treasure in your, basically in your mind, and as an experience and in your mindset, is a very, very big treasure. And that's why I really, promoting youth exchange, helping out with youth exchange is a very big passion for me, and that's why I'm here today. So let's talk about the, I would say, the more technicalities and mechanics of youth exchange in Rotary. The first question is, why do we do that? I found this wonderful statement from our, I think this is last year's RI president, Mr. Naga. And basically, that statement is very clear. I hope you can all read that in the back. That's basically the same what I says the same thing. It's very important for people to understand the world, to go out in the world and discover what's so different and what's similar, and you can learn from that. And you can build basically relationships all over the world. The exchange in Rotary has a very long history. The very first exchange, there's a little bit of dispute about it, was happened in 1929. And if you read Rotary historians, there's some dispute if the first exchange students were from Denmark or from France. US started pretty quickly thereafter. The first group outbound from the United States went in 1935. And as you can see on this picture, that was already kind of the same idea that we still have. Not foreigners, but friends. So the idea is you go to other countries and people learn to get along with each other, learn how similar they are, and learn about how things are different. And right now, this program is worldwide, very extensive, and basically Rotary sends every year about 8,000 students around the world in all kinds of directions. To give you an idea, this is like countries, the countries that are currently in the program. Now these change all the time, because two things happen. First, there are certain countries that don't do that at all, or for whatever reasons, like for instance China. I know we go to China someday. China does not have a Rotary, as an example. There's countries that fall off the map, come on the map because of all kind of issues, visa issues, government regulations, safety, security, that they all can play a role. And then in the next round, when students really get allocated, because every year you have these 8,000 students going around the world, there are like supply and demand issues. There are 500 students want to go to Australia, but on the other side there's only 400 clubs that want to host somebody, so people have to go somewhere else. So if a student wants to go to a certain country, doesn't mean they're going to end up there. So like both Merit and Grace, I think you have to pick like countries, like typically a top 5, and you may be allocated to one of these countries if you're lucky, or sometimes not even that. If all 5 are kind of gone, you have to do something else. But as you can see, it's a very extensive list of places all over the world. So how is this organized in Rotary? There's like I would say there's like a top-down and there's a bottom-up process going. Top-down, of course, you have Rotary International that has this program, sets the rules and the policies, how that program works. Then in between you have individual countries, nothing to do necessarily with Rotary, who have their laws, have their school system, have safety and security issues, so a country is on the list or is not on the list. And to get a student from the country or into the country, you have to do certain things, get a certain visa, all these type of things. Then Rotary has, basically by region, they have, I would call it like exchange organizations. And the exchange organizations make sure that all the policies are followed, that all the rules are followed, that all the paperwork is correct, that the visas get applied for, etc., etc. And the US, there's more than one. Our region here, we work with an organization called ESSEX, which stands for Eastern States Student Exchange. And they handle basically all the exchange programs inbound, outbound for this part of the United States. And usually they get this organized as like a real cumbersome and very paper-intense process. Then, next step, you have the districts. And the districts basically manage these students, both inbound, outbound. So the district has a committee, and the committee does the handles the applications, handles the screening of the students, makes sure all processes are followed. The Department of State is very involved in that. They have their own standard rules that you have to follow. And they basically, starting with the bottom-up process, they then communicate with the travel organization, with Essex, to make sure that everything works, that the students arrive and leave, etc. And then, I would say last but not least, we have the clubs, because the real work, as everything in Rotary, the real work starts at the bottom in the clubs. So the clubs are there to basically get students for outbound and host students for inbound. That's basically what clubs are doing. So we have now both examples is good. It's like Merit is an inbound, so we hosted, our district hosts Merit for the year. So through our district committee, we kind of found her, and through Essex. Grace is somebody, in fact, the very first from Gay City Rotary, my understanding, is with an outbound student that we found in our club. Basically, Stephanie approaching me on a party and said, oh, she was a student herself, and Grace wanted to do that. Some foreign country. Darren too, but he was more in favor of sending her to Burlington or something like that. So that's how the process works. So if you go by where we stand today, the club, important for the club is, that's our job, to host and to send basically students. Something about the programs. The programs, it's very simple. It's basically 2 programs, and there's 2 things happening. You have short-term programs, and I'll explain a little bit more what they are, what they typically are, and there's a long-term program. And then, of course, as we already talked about, and we have like evidence here, you have inbound and outbound. You have students that go to another country, and students that come here that you have to host. So the short-term programs are typically, and there's all kind of variations, but typically they're about 3 weeks. They are like usually in the summer, so it's during the summer vacation of the students. They are supposed to be true exchanges, so that means a student comes from another country here, hosts a family, and the same family sends a student to the same country and is hosted by the family at that side. So it's pretty simple because it's short, it's like vacation, there's no visa issues. The cost is basically you have to pay for the trip, pay for spending money, and that's about it. Long term is a little bit more complicated because the idea is it's a whole school year. So the student, doesn't matter inbound, outbound, has to go to school, to a regular high school for the whole school year. There's a few exceptions, especially on the southern hemisphere, because their summer vacation is a different period. Summer vacation is over Christmas, basically. So sometimes you have like 6-month programs. They are supposed to go to high school. They are supposed to stay at the same high school. And ideally, there will be 3 host parents, which is a good idea for all kinds of reasons. The main reason is that then, I would say, the student gets the widest cultural experience, because if you're the whole year with one family, then it's kind of, you get only one way of how people are and how they look at things. Merit example, she started with us, so she stayed with Cynthia, my wife, and I for the first 3.5 months, and now she's staying with Julie and Ken. And then until the end of February, she goes to a third family, so it all works. Again, the process is very strict, also for host families. You need a criminal background check, your house gets checked if you have decent room and a decent bathroom and all those type of things. So it's a pretty strict program. Also important to know is that although the kids go to a school, a local school, getting credits for your year is not like the main objective. And the main objective is to learn about the culture. And that means that often the students lose a year, or you may find ways to not lose a year, but often you lose the whole year, because again the main objective is to learn about other cultures and other countries. So, as I said, students is one side, the other side is hosting, because you cannot have exchange students if you don't have host parents. And finding host parents, in my experience, is not always very easy, especially if you want 3 host parents for a school year, and you want them ideally in the same school area, so that, because it's not supposed that the student, it's not even allowed that the student can change to another school. They have to stay in the same school, because they get a visa issued for that school, etc. So it's not so easy to do. There's basically 3 things if you look at hosting a student. The first thing is, of course, what the job is of the host parents. It's very simple. I think the simple job is you just have to give a family and a home. The official rule is you have to give food and lodging, which is kind of a strange thing. But that's the minimum. That's the minimum you have to do. But more than that, you really have to be, I would say, like a real parent. Right? You have to help the kids. You have to take them around. You have to show them things. You have to make sure that everything works, that they're happy. You also can learn from these students, of course, which is very interesting because you can learn about them. So that's the key element as for the parents. Then the student itself is, of course, these students are very thoroughly screened. I mean, first, you have to be very courageous, like to basically leave your family when you're like 16 years old for a year. You have to be open-minded, you have to have self-confidence, you have to be able to communicate and build up relationships. But these kids are pretty, I would say, pretty strongly screened. They also have to follow like really strict rules. Rotary is quite strict about it. Most famous are the 4 Ds. The 4 Ds means no driving, no drinking, no drugs, and no dating. so these are the four very strict rules there. And of course, the Rotary, because Rotary also expects them to participate in the Rotary events, so they have to wear funny blazers and things like that, as you can see, and like come to the district conference, other Rotary events. So there's all kinds of things happening. Often I get questions about the cost. The cost is, well, basically the cost is simple because in essence it's the same thing what I said, is food and lodging. But of course in reality that's not really true. At least if you try to be a nice parent, that's not true. If you try to be a nice parent, you do other. First you have to drive the kid around a lot because remember one of the 4 Ds, they cannot drive. And the other thing is you just do normal things. At least in my experience, and we hosted marathons at our exchange student number 6, right? So we hosted 6 in total. In my experience, you do all kinds of things what you normally do with your family. Where you sometimes spoil them a bit, sometimes not. You take them places, and so this kind of, again, it's like being a normal kid. So these are kind of the, let's say, the rules about hosting. But there's also a lot of reward and a lot of fun in hosting. And I think the most important thing, if you forget all these rules, is that the student has to become like a normal local kid. I mean, they have to find ways to, and that's a very tough challenge, to build up friendships, with people of their own age, kids at school, be active in school. These are all pictures we have from Merit. Basically, I said here at the end, I said when you have happy students, you have a happy family. So the students have to have the initiative, have to make friends, have to do things, be active. And ideally in her school at their own age. When you go to a Rotary event, you have like 100 old people asking the student where you're from. But like rather in the schools, whether the school cross-country team, for instance, he makes like wonderful friends. I think that's very rewarding. If you can see that the student establishes a situation like that and they're all happy, then everything works wonderful. Another joy of hosting, I would say, is I have to show you this picture. This gentleman on the right, his name is Adrian. And Adrian is Australian, but he lives in Indonesia. Now, he is married to his wife Michelle, and has 3 kids. And about 3 weeks ago, he sent his latest email to us with this picture. Why did he send that? Because it was his 39th birthday. Why does he send it to us? This is very interesting. He was our very first exchange student, 1991. So that's 23 years ago when he was 16. So, in other words, one of the rewards of hosting a kid can be that you basically build friendships for life. And again, this kid, Adrian, very long ago, he met his mother, his sister was staying with us, we went to his wedding. So that's a very big reward you can have from these youth exchange programs. Now a little bit about our district. I went over the committee. We have our own committee. It's chaired by Tanya Fagans of the Airport Club. There's a few other Rotarians who are members. I'm one of them. There's a youth protection officer. You have to have that, which is Ken Keller. Most of you will know him. He's a lawyer. When there's legal issues, he can help out in that. Every student has to have a counselor. and the counselor needs to go to an annual online exam at the Department of State to be certified. So when a student is here and they have host parents, they need to have somebody to go to in case they have trouble with their family, and that's where the counselor is for. So you can become a counselor. That's basically how it works. What the district has been doing recently is 2 years ago we had a decent group of students, then we skipped a year. Now this year we only have one, and then we had one short term, and I'll show you the pictures of it. So rush along a little bit. This was what we had in 2011, 2012. We had 5 in district, 5 inbound students. Most of you may remember the one on the top right-hand side, Peter. Peter was also from Germany, and Chip is smiling. Chip hosted him, and Tim Albertson. So he was staying at those 2 families for a year. Very nice kid. I was his counselor for a year, so very nice kid. The other ones, I won't do a geography test here. So we have which flag is which country. If you go with the clock, Thailand, then with Peter from Germany, a young lady from Chile, a girl from Finland, and a girl from Taiwan. That was like 2 years ago. Then we had, this summer we had a short-term exchange program. You remember I told you it's like a real swap. Same kid, same family, both ways. Short-term program with one student from Kernersville that went to Italy, an Italian girl came there. And then this year, we already talked about it, only one long-term, nice picture. We took this picture of Merit on the beach. Who is from Germany. So to avoid further questions, he's from Dortmund, so I put this little arrow there. And then we get the program, so 2014-15 looks pretty good in activity. We have 2 outbound students. Bailey, a young guy, is supported by the airport club. He is at Norden. He goes to Sweden. Then we have Grace, who is supported by our club and goes to France. So they're already allocated time to a country. Not to the town yet, we don't know where they're going yet. And we have a short term, again with Italy, with a girl from the Kernersville club. So that's basically I think you're doing okay for time. My story about the mechanics. Again, I want to start or end where I started. I said that is to me, this whole program is a very valuable treasure that people can obtain and can achieve by just learning about the world. And I thought I end with putting some famous travel quotes out there to give an idea why that is so important. And this is then travel with a capital T. It's not like getting off the cruise ship for 3 hours and buy a grass skirt. It is like the idea of being immersed in another culture on your own and live your life in another culture. So that kind of summarizes me, because we're running out of time and we want the students to talk. In summary, at the end, so what can you do as a Rotarian? Well, obviously you can send your kid as a student, improve their education. You can host yourself. You can, if you cannot host, you can help finding host parents. Host parents do not have to be Rotarians. You can get involved in a committee by becoming a member or becoming a counselor. So there's a lot we can do. And if anybody is ever interested, well, we pound on you anyhow, when we get like inbound students, if you want to host. Anybody interested, please contact me anytime. So this is my little tell part of it. Now we go to the show part. Where shall we start? Merit has like 2 special presentations he has to do first. Merit, come on. Little things. First, he has like an official, an official banner exchange from our club.
We exchanged banners. So this is my banner from my home district. So it's for you.
Okay. There is ours. Thank you.
Thanks.
And then Merit has another little presentation because Germany. Well, I would say many people in the United States know about Germany and soccer, and there's only one problem. They all know about one club, and it's always Bayern München. Merit hates Bayern München. But we found in the whole United States of America one exception. Is a true American who is a fan of the same club as Merit is. Rachel, so you have to come up front. Rachel, you have to come up.
Yeah, so people who are like fan of my soccer club, they're directly my friends. So, my mother sent me something. For you.
Cool. Wow, that's great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Awesome.
love that when that came up. Yeah, my husband and I were like, what is that? Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Awesome.
Okay, so Marcel, you're standing because I asked both Meredith and Grace to say something. Meredith a bit about their experiences, Grace a bit about their expectations as a student. Since we have another 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Good. I'll sit down.
Well, like, I can't even put my experiences into words. It's just, like, I can say that host parents are a really important part of, like, the experience because they give you, like, another home. They show you, like, a different family and they host you. And I can say that my host families all are really good because I didn't get homesick. So, yeah, thanks to them. And, yeah. What I can say, the most thing I miss from my home country is public transporting. That's everybody's driving over here, and they don't. And like people in my age over here, they speak about car accidents, and I don't even know how to drive. Yeah, we have some cliches in Germany for Americans. Americans are lazy. And I have to say the fast food over here is better than in Germany. That's true. Yeah, what else? Well, how I came up to make an exchange, it was like, I lived my whole life in Germany, so I was used to all this stuff, and I wanted to see like a different life, so I thought of doing an exchange. So my mother and I, we looked at the internet, like with what organization I could go, and then we found Rotary, and my mother had a friend who was a member of Rotary, so it was kind of good. So I ended up here, and I want to say thank you, Rotary, that I can be here and make all these experiences. So, thanks.
The fact that I was accepted and get to go to France for 10 months is still very new to me. I'm so excited. It's been a dream of mine for so long. The French culture and language is so beautiful. I'm so excited to learn as much as I can. I've been taking French for a few years, so I have a little bit of background, but I know the culture shock is going to be insane and everything, learning as much as I can. But I just hope to grow as a person and make a wide variety of friends from a bunch of different places, and just learn as much as I can while I'm there. Thank you all so much for giving me the amazing, life-changing opportunity to be able to go.
Well, thank you, everyone. We have a minute or two, maybe, for questions. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Tony, thank you. I mean, really, the world is a better place. This club is a better club for the work you do and the international connection through you. We're very fortunate to have you. How many languages do you speak, Tony?
4.
4 languages. I guess German's one of them?
Yeah, German.
So when you were at your house, was
He had
it
an
German?
easy life in the beginning.
In the beginning,
Every word she didn't know. What is this?
That's incredible. One thing I failed to mention, on 2 weeks from today, February 20th, we are having it's the whole month of February is Females in Rotary. Emily has lined up a speaker, and if any of you know a lady, a female in your business, your life, whatever, Steve Brandon's going to send out an email. We encourage you to invite them to come and see what Rotary is, and it will be an opportunity to let some ladies know the great things that we do. So put that on your calendar and look for an email. Where's the raffle tickets?
Hey, Bobby, not to interrupt. Who has the iPhone that was found?
I got it right here.
Okay.
Someone in the mortgage industry, and I can give you the names of the last 6 people that called. As a matter of fact, John Hockman is calling now. But is it yours?
No.
Oh.
It's a guest of the hotel.
Yeah.
So
Great. I'm going to find it. Who's got the raffle ticket then?
question?
Sell any raffle tickets? Is it still out there?
Nikki had.
Don't forget the cart fund buckets, the blue buckets on your station. We're all